is created and adapted in the world, how it's adapted in our daily life. And he went through this kind of gadgets, if this is a gadget, I don't know, bicycles, refrigerators, cars, all possible technologies. He studied all the processes and the evolution of things. And then he concluded, new technology is adapted and created by playing. It is usually not so linear, rational process as we think. It's about playing, experimenting, and at the same time selling something useful that people want to pay for. These kind of things are made in a city where I work and live, and one of the strongholds of the whole region is mechanical engineering, automation, and what we call mobile heavy machinery. The thing I showed you is mobile, it's really heavy, it's about machinery, but they are also designing and manufacturing container handling machines, drilling machines for Australian mines, etc., etc. Really big and heavy mobile machinery. But interesting point here from policy point of view, from leadership point of view, is that there are, I don't know what's the situation at the moment, but there are several, let's say dozen or so globally market-leading companies who are in cooperation with each other, generating new knowledge and new technology, because they all are interested in ICT, automation, hydraulics. Same kind of technology, same kind of integrative knowledge. They are having joint research projects, training programs. They go and meet quite often to talk about what's going on in the world, what are the most interesting developments in USA, etc., etc. TUT is Tampere University of Technology that has always been involved, and always means something like last 40 years. Has been involved in these deliberations. VTT is a technical research center of Finland. It's a national one, having a research center in Tampere. And these people are creating together shared knowledge base that they are exploiting differently. And that is the beauty of this thing. I think we have studied it, and it's quite unique in a sense that these firms are not competing with each other in same markets. And that's why they can share the knowledge and really generate it together, and policy interventions are helping the knowledge base. At one point they were looking for partners in Germany. There was one guy from local Center of Expertise program going from university to university in Germany, because there was something very specific they didn't understand in Tampere, and they knew that Germans are usually very good in these kind of things, and they were hunting who, what, where is the best people, and how to attract them to cooperate with us. There might be long stories like that, but you get the picture. Policy making is a collaborative act. Leadership is a collaborative act. The main companies, they're really big ones, they are taking the lead, but in certain things, in certain specific things, in education, research, university is taking the lead. In certain specific things like finding partners in Germany, Center of Expertise program, one of the local policymaking bodies is taking a lead. And in the end, you may have very, very different kind of machinery coming out of that process. And of course, all the firms are responsible for what they are doing, but still they are sharing the knowledge base, generating the knowledge together. And that's one of the secrets of this quite successful cluster of activities in city of Tampere and Tampere region as a whole. And successful, why? It has gone through several economic recessions, almost collapsing. Several times. It still is there, because they always innovate their way out of financial crisis or whatever. I tell you, very different kind of policy scheme. This is now our only metropolitan area in Finland, if you like. But don't let it confuse you. Same kind of thinking might happen also here in Port Macquarie, if you like. The question is about digital business. All those firms and to some extent also university departments that are generating technology for well, many kind of things we are having here today, but technology for marketing, schools, road authorities, you name it. Digital media technology, and the point is that they're always creating it with their customers, and it's a very rapidly evolving area of business. What is happening today is very different from what happened last May. And what they are doing at the moment, what the opportunities are, they are quite different from what they may learn is going to happen next summer, our summer in Finland, your winter. And it's very challenging for policymakers. There is national policy for digital technology services, and there are also local activities, but it is so rapidly evolving, you can't create vision of it, because you simply don't know. It is evolving when people are speaking. And it is also evolving in a way that when there are some people from some firms working with the customers, they may be poached immediately. So people are moving from organization to organization. And the solution, the policy solution, is not to have a strategy. They don't know what to focus on. They don't know what the vision might be. That's why they are experimenting with everything interesting with the firms, and they are living, the policymakers are living with the firms. Different kind of growth coaching schemes, different kind of efforts to help the firms to access Silicon Valley, certain places. So when the need emerges, firms, university people, and policymakers come together and think, okay, there is this kind of need now. What can we do? Where are the funding opportunities? How we organize this? And they call it, or was it us who labeled it? I can't remember anymore, but it's a kind of 360-degree strategy. You are looking forward, sideways, backward. You just learn and do and learn and do and experiment. And it's also, from policy point of view, it's a question of creating awareness of an industry that is all the time evolving very quickly. There are quite a lot of living labs, real-time experimentation, and it is kind of reactive gardening policy. You have a garden, you don't know what you can grow there, and you are experimenting with tomatoes, roses, bananas, mangoes, whatever, and then you'll see what starts growing, and you go and help those areas of business. If the mechanical engineering part is quite rational in a way that they are really fine-tuning the knowledge base, these people are living with open situation that is really challenging, but I think they are doing quite well. And then we can go back to leadership. What kind of capabilities are needed, not from those people who are leading the processes, but from the networks of people who are there? Of course, strategic capabilities. We need those people who understand where the world is going, what are the change pressures, what might be the evolving visions. And strategic capability, at least in my mind, refers also to the ability to let people to talk about visions as a tool for collective sense-making. That's really good capability to have around. Then we also need people who have good interpretive capabilities, who can really understand what the new digital strategy of this region, for instance, means in practice in different organizations, because usually we don't know it. It requires quite a lot of thinking and talking, and then you may end up making an interpretation. What does it mean to us? And there are certain people who are much better in creating this kind of links between abstract understanding and everyday life than some of the rest of us are. And then we need those people who can combine people, knowledge, organizations, different funding opportunities. And we need capabilities to absorb people, money, knowledge from abroad. And it's always nice to have few such persons around who truly can excite the rest of us. And it was a few years ago when I started thinking about strategic leadership, regional development, boosting innovation and all that as a network of capabilities, not network of people, but what kind of capabilities are out there. I have seen cases in Finland where people have had, and the whole region has been doing great strategic work to understand what are the opportunities, where the threats are, nice plans, and really sophisticated thinking. But there was nobody to excite them to action. There simply weren't people who were able to put fire on all it. Sometimes, somewhere, there are nice strategies without any understanding that they don't have any meaning for anybody else outside the region. And that's not nice either. There has not been truly that kind of combinative capabilities where you can combine your thinking to what's going on nationally and internationally. But this is a way to analyze the network or the community as a whole. What kind of capabilities we need to create new ideas and pull them through. And few final observations. What kind of things usually come out as important in boosting innovation environments or systems, if you like? I believe in intensive collaboration, but as much as I believe in it, I know it's extremely difficult to achieve, of course. And that's why we need strategic leadership with right capabilities to making us work together and helping us to understand that this is not the local game. We are acting locally, but it's a global game where we are always participating. And at least in a small country like Finland, this was really something we learned in the early 90s. Before that, everybody was talking about globalization, internationalization. That is something out there. But suddenly you realize that what's happening in Australia, Japan, USA today is with us in Finland tomorrow. And the financial crisis of Europe has really made this clear to us. If something happens in Greece, it will affect us. So the global world is with us all the time. We are in that playing field, and that's why we need bigger teams locally to survive and to succeed. And usually we don't have much time. That's why we need those people who simply can help us make themselves bold and fast decisions. I believe in making decisions. It's usually better to make decision, is it bad or good, and live with it, than avoid it, duck it, wait it to go away. And I appreciate a lot those people who really can go for the decisions. And of course, we need brave and visionary people who shows us what the future might be like. But in the core of this everything is quite often there is, in successful cases, there is an evolving story. If you interview people, if you work with them, if you meet them, they talk about technology, but quite often they talk about something else. I haven't mentioned the city of Oulu, that is not exactly Lapland in Finland, but very high up in northern Finland. And I hope this is not in YouTube, but it's in the middle of nowhere. It's not the most, exciting cities in the world. This is the danger of today. I'm in Australia. I can't make a joke of my friends in Oulu because it may be in YouTube and they will listen to it and then they come back to me and you went to Australia to say nasty things about that, or about us. But anyway, they have been doing amazing job in northern Finland by focusing on electronics. Nokia has a big plant, big R&D functions there, very good university, very good cooperation between the main players. But what they are telling, what is the story? There has been nice articles in Business Week, Financial